Starting tonight at 11 o'clock and for the entire month of November, you're going to be able to see Cuba as no American has seen it for half a century. We'll be presenting an extraordinary series of reports we call Historic Access. Cuba Coast to Coast. The stories will air at 6 and 11 on Local 10 News Monday through Friday. And the creative forces behind the series are the two people whom you see here. Producer, writer Michelle Lacamore and reporter Hansel Villa. Thanks for coming in on Sunday, but this is so important. And I think the first question, Hansel, is since no American journalists have been really allowed free access to the island in maybe half a century, how did you get it?
Well, you know, from our past, we've been in Cuba since January covering the changes that have been happening on the island, and we really have developed a relationship with the government there and the people, most importantly.
A working relationship.
Of course, because they know our role is critical in telling the American people what is happening on the island. And I have to say, to be fair, we've never been stopped or told or restricted in what we have done.
Yeah. Michelle, I know that you are proudly Cuban American. You still have some family members, and that you and your mother go at least once a year to visit family members. So it's not as if you haven't been to Cuba, but you went to parts of Cuba you've never seen before.
Yes, Michael. We visited places that I've only heard about growing up. So to actually go there and see it for myself and actually share that experience with my uncle, because we show you and we explain to you that my uncle, one of my uncles, is our guide. He's essentially the person who takes us across Cuba, and he has enough knowledge, plenty of knowledge about the country, so to just experience that with him.
Right. Well, and you explained to me when you came back that you would drive through a province, drive into a city, and your uncle would begin giving you the history of the city. I mean, you were with an extremely knowledgeable person. What are we looking at here? Is this Varadero?
That's Varadero. This right here is Cienfuegos. Benny's town, Benny Morey's town, was known famous for, the town is made famous in one of his songs.
This is Mariel, as you see it nowadays. This is the bay where you can see most of the boats came in 1980 during the Mariel boat lift. It's amazing to see and to be there that 35 years later we're commemorating that boat lift here in South Florida.
And the Cubans subsequently have built a huge port at Mariel, which they hope is going to compete with Port Miami or Port Everglades or Savannah or any other port for the Panamax ships that are going to come through the Panama Canal. So I don't know of any American media that's been given access to show what the Port of Mariel is, and you do that among other things. Michelle, one of the points that we have made is that this is not really a political series of reports. Explain why it's not really, strictly speaking, political.
Well, we wanted to show the more human side of Cuba. We tend to go during times when, during the discussions earlier this year, when the embassy opened, but we wanted to travel outside of Havana and show everyday people how they're living, how they're struggling, or how they're hustling, as we like to say, how they're getting by every day. We wanted to show that side, and not necessarily away from politics. We do touch upon that, but we also wanted to show the more human side.
Sure. Well, Hetzel, it is inevitable if you're talking to people who work for the government or other jobs and earn $25 a month, don't really have access to remittances or things like that. I'm sure that they did bring up the politics, the leadership, the society, the economy, all these things.
Well, they are all aware of what's happening between the United States and Cuba. And there's one thing I wanted to remind folks. Cubans, when you're in Cuba, they like to always talk about the word resolver, to resolve, to survive, right? And that's really what they're looking for, more about the financial opportunities that they'll be able to gain as this process sort of moves forward.
Yeah. Michelle, did you find that most Cubans, or a lot of Cubans, are expectant, hopeful about the new relationship between Cuba and the United States?
Pretty much everyone we spoke to is very optimistic. What they mostly want is a better economy, right? They want to earn more money. And that's essentially what they're hoping will happen, that the embargo, this will be the window into lifting the embargo, because essentially they believe that the be-all, end-all is the lifting of the embargo.
Right. So you're going to go to Holguín, Santa Clara, Santiago de Cuba.
From Pinal del Rio to Guantanamo, from one end to the other.
Well, I can't wait to see the pictures and to hear the people of Cuba. And I know you have worked so hard. You and great photographer Bill Damas, who shot it and did.
Mario Alonso
and
as well.
Mario Alonso. I mean, it's a collective effort of some very talented people. So look forward to it beginning tonight at 11.
Thank you for having us. We're honored.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Thanks for coming in.